I find that when Ryan's misbehaving, Rena can't do nothing with him, like she sort of says, Barry, you'll see to him because he'll not listen to me. I think that's what's become of being with him so much, you know.
Daddy, move around.
Do you think he'll carry on with the housework when he's back at the pit?
I hope he will. I think he realises now that it's not easy looking after the house and working. And not getting any help with it at all. So.
Daddy.
Which of the jobs do you most appreciate him doing?
Ironing.
Barry, will you still carry on with the ironing when you go back to work?
I'll probably iron my own clothes when I want to go out somewhere, probably. Yeah, I think we can share it out a lot more than we've done before, you know. I think more hands make light work. So, yeah, keep doing my bit and she does her bit. I think it'll make things a hell of a lot easier for us all. You were cheating. Your turn again.
I've got one. Sit down because I can't see.
I find that the crowd, well, the few ones what we get, they come down, they demand a little bit more success and they expect us to play well because everybody's uptight, you know, shortage of money. And if we're not doing so well, we get a bit more stick and that puts a bit more edge on us to play better for them. I suppose for 90 minutes it's a time when you can forget about everything else and take it out at opposition for an hour and a half, yeah.
What happened to the policeman who used to play for Frickley?
Well, the start of this season, when the dispute was in probably its third or fourth month, we never saw John again. I just don't think that the crowd would have allowed John to play. I think they would have barracked him so much that he wouldn't have been able to concentrate on his football, so he's probably done as well getting away.
Supposing your paths did cross, what would you say to him?
If it was on a picket line or anything like that, I wouldn't go anywhere near him.
In the street?
If he was in uniform, I wouldn't bother him at all.
In his own clothes?
Probably, yeah. I don't think I could snub him because we were always decent friends when he were here. Yeah.
Has the strike changed your football?
When we play away from home, especially down south, and a lot of the crowd call us dirty miners and flat cap. I think we all wear flat caps and mufflers and live in back-to-back houses. And so when they start shouting that, it makes you a bit more aggressive, I think, yeah.
Can you give me an example of that?
Barnet, a few weeks ago, we played there and we were losing 1-0 at half-time. And we took a lot of stick about strike and they were shouting Arthur Scargill this and Arthur Scargill that and having a go at us as individuals because I think they'd seen on television when we were in Cup that we got 1 or 2 minors. And that did wind us up a little bit and make us a bit more aggressive and we ended up beating them 2-1 at finish. So that was pleasing.
It is the work of extremists. It is the enemy within. It is always easier to defeat the enemy without because he can be seen and identified. But violence and intimidation within are the enemy of the ballot. They are the enemy of democracy.
If they close a pit, the local pit, you don't only put a miner out of a job, you'll probably put shopkeepers, pubs, clubs. There's more than miners going to suffer. You might as well just close the whole community down.
What's the strike achieved so far?
So far, it hasn't achieved anything. But I think if we're willing to stick it out long enough, it can achieve everything. I think we can get everything that we want if we're just willing to be patient, stick it out.
On what terms would you go back?
If the union had a say in the pits that were closed and they could agree with the coal board when a pit's exhausted, because obviously if a pit's exhausted it's got to close. I think if the union have a say in it with the coal board, I think that's about all right.
Barry, what do you think the government hopes to achieve?
I think they're just trying to stamp their authority over the working class. You know, I don't think they want us to have a say in it. I think they just want to walk over the working class without any fight. And if they kill off the NUM, which they will do if they beat us in this dispute, they know that they'll be able to just pick and choose where they want to close industries and without any fight at all, because unions will just be bust.
Before the next part of our comedy hour, we're going over to the newsroom for a report from Jan Leeming.
The miners' strike is over. The NUM is recommending all its members to go back to work on Tuesday. Voting at today's special delegate conference was declared a few minutes ago. 98 to 91 in favour of an organised return.
The union hopes to negotiate with the board locally over the question of an amnesty for people sacked during the strike. In the meantime, a special trust fund is being set up to pay for the people who have been sacked. But as I say, the decision, a close one by 98 votes to 91. The strike is officially called off. This is Giles Smith at the TUC, and that is the end of this news flash.
Oh, Barry, what's your reaction?
Disappointed. Very disappointed. I feel as though we've wasted 12 months. Well, obviously we haven't wasted it. We've shown us support, but I didn't want to go back to work personally until we had the amnesty for the lads who've been sacked. I think now the way it sounds to me, that it looks like they're going to accept that some of the lads are going to lose their jobs.
How do you feel about that?
Disgusted. Absolutely disgusted.
Will you go back personally?
Well, it looks like they've called everybody back, so what's good me stopping out? Yeah. I think everybody's going... First impressions, it sounds like the strike's over.
What has it achieved?
Well, I think it's proved that you've had 120, 130,000 men who are willing to give up 12 months' earnings in fight of jobs. So to me, it's proved a great deal. These men a lot of us have been out on strike, and it's probably not directly meant our jobs that's going to go. But these men have been willing to fight for other men in their industry. And I think that's a big thing in their favour, because there's been a lot of hardship and a lot of suffering. And there's a lot of men and women get a lot in this strike, and it'll never be forgotten.
And Rena, a working husband again.
It'll be strange having working again.
Do you think it's been worth it?
It's got to have been worth it. It's a shame it's ended like it has, them all going back to work without a settlement. That's bad. But I think Margaret Thatcher she'd have done whatever she liked. If it had meant country being on its knees, she'd have done it. So she thinks she's beat miners, but she hasn't. But they're still going to fight on now when they get back to work.
for his bloody job, that's what he's got bloody sacked for.
Look at all these going picketing for 12 months and shouting at the most for going through picket lines and going through this, is it?
We suffered 12 months, we can suffer bloody longer. She's just bloody laughing at us, Maggie Thatcher. She's just bloody laughing at us, and they're bloody standing for it.
And she'll laugh more if we carry on like this.
Yeah, and we can bloody carry on.
Carry on then.
We can carry on. I have a bloody wife and kids, but I can stick it out.
Stick it out.
It's not go through it, that is for sure. I don't think there's many more will either. It looks to me as though strike's far from over.
I'd like to tell you what we're going to do this morning. We have one problem, but we've got quite a few, but the main problem, we have got 4 lads sacked. And what we've got to do this morning is to give a vote of confidence and an assurance to these lads that 3 things can happen. Either national...
The country's miners have gone back. The men from Frickley take another vote.
So I want 100% vote of confidence in these men. All in favour now? Right. The big starts at work tonight at 6 o'clock night or 10 o'clock night.
We've voted to go back to work. There's a lot of bitterness. Hell of a lot of bitterness. For the lads whose friends have been sacked, they want to stop out while they get reinstated, which is fair enough in my view. I would have been willing to stop out while these lads get the jobs back. People just going down, getting on with the work, keeping out of trouble and more or less just waiting and see what happens in the future. Everybody's worried about pit closures and what have you, worrying about who's next sort of thing. Mate. Am I late?
No, you're all right. He just comes home just before I go out to work. So we just sort of say hello and goodbye as he comes in and I go out.
Get straight off.
He's ready for bed, so he just wants into bed. You're gonna come and give me a kiss? Come on then. Ta-ta.
Boy, this old cooker's rubbish. Doesn't she know she can get £80 for it right now? Trade in your old cooker for a new one and you'll save £80 on the fancy, £70 on the auction free and £60 on the Soleil. There's usually nothing more to pay for delivery and installation.
Get free dinner?
And there's interest-free credit too. So...
You what? You come and give me a love. Come on then. Get straight to bed now. Go on quick. You're not going to get up in the morning. I just usually see him for a few minutes at night before he goes to sleep. No, not tonight. Come on. You'll not get up in the morning. No. 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 No, you'll not get up in the morning. Come on, let's have you to sleep. You'll not be up for school. You'll stop up another night late when... No, not tonight. Come on, get to sleep. Go on, give us a kiss. No, no. You can get to sleep. You're not getting up tonight. You're not going to stop up another night. Say night-night. I'm pointing my hair now. You can stop up another night. All right.
You're not really seeing enough of him, are you?
No. You find that he's growing up and you don't really realise it. You know, so I try to cram as much into seeing him at weekend as I can.
Do you miss him?
Oh, terribly, yeah. Especially with him not being so happy at school at the moment, and I'm going to work like worrying about him whether he's all right or not.
What else are you worried about at work? Are you worried about the union's position?
Well, I think the union are taking it same as the men are. They're treading very carefully. They're advising us to stay out of trouble as much as possible, not to cause any disputes, because I don't think they want any head-on clashes with management at this moment in time. So, you know, they're advising us the safest ways of keeping out of trouble, like.
I remember at Royal College of Nursing and never went to any meetings or really got involved in it. But since the strike I have done, I've started going to the meetings. You've got to back your union, whatever they want. If you agree with what they wanted, it's no good sitting back and letting the health service do what it likes and then complaining afterwards. Just no good.
Done. That's a good lad. That's it. Oh dear me.
Since the strike, who does the housework?
Me, mainly. He still does his bit, but he doesn't do as much as he did during the strike. When I'm working, he'll do it. But when I'm not working, he seems to have stopped. He said he'd carry on doing ironing, but he hasn't done any ironing for a long time.
Disappointed?
Yes, I am a bit, because he did say that he was going to carry on and help. He does his bit, but he does as little as he has to.
Before the strike, you could negotiate with management over any small problem. You know, same as shift changes and things like that. You know, you could talk to people about it. But now it's, you will do that. You know, they just clamp down on you straight away. You are going to do this, you are going to do that, and if you don't like it, get down the road. You know, you're finished.
Whilst we were on strike, we was called the enemy within. We now like a defeated army. They're treating us as though they want total capitulation. The atmosphere is depressive. Management using the attitude, take it or leave it. I mean, if we sit down with management, the only things that hang over his heads is a threat at the end of the day. Either produce the goods or you'll be down the lane.
I would never give my job up and go on the dole, no matter how bad it got. I mean, I owe it to my family to turn up for work every day, no matter how I'm trampled on, rather than go make myself unemployed. But the more you get trampled on, makes you the more determined to look for something else.
What's hurt me most of all, when I first started back after the strike, I wanted pits to keep open me. This is how depressing it's really got. Even me, I thought a year for young people's job, even when I went back, I didn't want any action I took to close the pit. But now, even I'm not bothered if they shut it. They're using it again as they want low wages, our wages, £100 a week, take home, top pay. It's ridiculous. We can't live, can we, Steve?
No.
It's that bad. And so people are not bothered if they shut the pit now.
I think personally, in my own opinion, things have changed because of the stance that we took as an area in this strike. Doncaster area's traditionally been and always has been a militant area at Yorkshire Coalfield, and I think it's been a game of them who's been the most militant have had most boat put back into them when they've gone back to work.
One of the silly things which I consider silly, which they did, was when the strike started, they threatened 2 small ponds which a club in village has been using to fish since 1914. This club has stocked this pond with fish, never asked for any money from Coal Board, although these 2 ponds are on Coal Board property, and they've used it since 1914. And the attitude of management in March of this year when strike finished were them ponds are no longer available for that club to use to fish, and they drained the ponds and brought the Yorkshire Water Authorities in to take the fish out. Well, you know, that decision had nothing whatsoever to do with making Frickley Pit productive. It had nothing whatsoever to do with making Frickley Pit profitable. It was purely and simply to stick the knife into workforce to show who what gaffers and who want. A lot, and I mean a lot of our members, firmly believe that the board's policy is a deliberate rundown at Frickley with a prelude to closure, simply because the trade unions at Frickley will not accept the decisions which management is trying to dictate to them.
There's a hell of a lot of pride in the mining community. You shut this pit at Frickley. The South Emsall, the village here, is dead. Take the pit away and they've got nothing. So you're forced to have a pride in your job.
People care about each other in a mining village. They are concerned, and I think that's what makes them what they are. You can't express it in words. They care for one another. And for me, that is what makes me proud, because I care what he's thinking or what he's got to do.
Well, you have to
and he
understand.
cares about me, and that is what life's all about to me. That's, for me, is Christianity and love for one another.
See, what you have to understand, and what this Tory government fails to understand, and what the Coal Board fails to understand, that Barry, he gets this comradeship by virtue of the fact that he has to rely on his mate at work for his own safety. Now, if he can't trust the man who he is working with, then he is dead. It's as simple as that. You know, there's no ifs, ands and buts about it. He's dead, so he has to build up a trust in a person. And he don't put that trust in a person lightly. When he grows up and he retires, he becomes one of the older people at village, but he's still got that feeling inside him. And his wife's got it, and his kids got it, and his next-door neighbour's got it, and that's what this village has got, and that's what every other mining village has got, and they won't kill it. They won't kill it, it's as simple as that.
You'd be able to play that football tennis over that wall like Andy used to do out here, wouldn't you?
Anyway, no, I garden.
Eh?
No, I garden.
Well, it would be if we bought a house.
You're buying a new house. Why?
Well, we've been here 7 years. I'm fed up with it, and I'd like something a little bit better. We're both working, and we're earning decent money between us. And we bought this house for just a few years. We planned on stopping here 5 years when we first bought it. Obviously, strikes put us back a little bit, and now we just found we think it's the right time to move.
It's undoubtedly a massive...
They don't have fences in front of theirs. Well, you can have that like that. Just a little border outside.
Onto the streets, their CS gas and their plastic bullets. They didn't use them, to the evident disgust of many officers around me. Next time, the pressure on them to use them will be that much greater, and I would guess so will the pressure on the rioters to give the ratchet another twist from their side.
What do you feel about the people taking part?
I tend to feel sorry for them in a way. I don't agree with the way they're going about it. I mean, they're smashing up their own villages, the shops. That's damage generally to their own property. I don't agree with that, but how else can they vent their feelings, you know? I can't see things going any other way in the next few years, to be quite honest, until probably people in government start to have a bit of thought and consideration for these people, instead of just pushing them to one side and expecting them to keep quiet and suffer in silence.
Do you say that because of your own experience during the strike?
Well, we were in a similar position, so I've got every sympathy for them, and I'm probably more likely to look at it from their point of view than the government or the police or anybody else.
And had it not been for the strike, you may have looked at pictures like those and perhaps been critical of
That's
people
that's
taking
right,
part.
yeah. Probably would, yeah.
Think ahead 20 years.
20 years?
What's going to happen?
I would hope the bink retiring age down to about 45, and that'll fit me in nicely. I shouldn't fancy working after another 20 years.
Rena?
I don't think what it'll be like in 20 years. I hope things get better and not worse. I mean, I worry about what it's going to be like for Ryan. Unemployment as it is now, what's it going to be like when he's leaving school? Well, we might not be here, we might have all been blown up. We might have dropped a bomb by then.
I think we'll still be supporting Ryan when he's 30. He'll still be living at home with us. Well, I hope he is. I don't mind that.
That's the future.
Bit bleak, isn't it?